Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne. I'm a self-published indie author of over 55 books and counting. So normally when I tell people on a train or a bus or a stranger that I'm talking to that I've self-published over 50 books, they get really surprised. And there's many people writing how to write perfect books and publish really successfully with less than 10 books. So I've written 55 books and I've come to educate myself in a few things. The title of this video is called Indie Authors, 5 Tips to Create a Following. I have quite a number of people who have talked to me. I've talked to them on the phone and via Facebook Messenger, and they've read all of my books. Well, that's a lot of reading. Let's just say that the average book of mine is 2 hours or more. Let's say an average of 3 hours. That's 150 hours of reading. That would be close to 4 weeks, 5-day weeks, 8 hours reading a day. That's a lot of reading. That's a great investment. So how do you create a following like that? How would you like to create a following like that? Here's 5 tips that I've used. Number 1, great content. So writing relevant content. Try and think of subjects that you know very well and frame it in such a way that it's something that people want to read about. In Christian circles, if you write the word evangelism, not many people want to read it. The fact of the matter is, many Christians don't like the idea of sharing their faith with other people and evangelizing other people. So that's a topic that isn't very popular with Christians. Although I'm very evangelistic, and I've got three books out of my 55 that speak about how to use your life as a witness to display Jesus to people and make him more accessible. So you need to focus on relevant content. And when you're writing your headline and you're writing the blurb for the back cover, think about how you can benefit people. I've got a testimony book, a story about my life up until about 6 years ago, that's called He's Redeeming Love, and it doesn't tell you anything about my life except that Jesus is really loving. A better title for people are more selfish. They want things for themselves. So a better title would be developing intimacy with Jesus whilst suffering addictions and mental illness. That would appeal to people who are addicted, and it would appeal to people with mental illness, and it also appeal to people who want to develop intimacy with Jesus. So you have to frame your title in such a way that it promises a benefit to your readers. Sadly, many people write their first book and it's a book about their life, and the fact is not many people know you unless you're a star, and not many people are really interested in you. And So even though that's the first book a lot of people will write, they need to frame it in such a way that it's attractive, like I shared that title. What goes into tip 1 to great content is you have to have a great cover. The cover has to be appealing. And in the description tag, I'll give a link to my Amazon book page, and I encourage you to go there and have a look at my covers. Do you like the covers? Not everyone will like them, but they're more appealing than many self-published books and indie author books. Many people think to design their own cover and try and do it without a professional graphic artist. You need to have good covers. There's a cliche that says, there's a cliche, many people judge a book by its cover, and they really do. You can have 3 books on Amazon with the same title and different covers, and the one with the best cover will get the most click-throughs. So it also has to have great editing. That's part of your great content. So many people, I've got another chapter that I'm talking about that will be in this playlist. This video will be part of a playlist that you can look up, but on indie content, if you go to the playlist section on my YouTube channel, it's on indie authors. But so many self-published authors get their auntie or their uncle or their friend or someone from school or someone who reckons they're an editor to edit their book. That's a big mistake. Certainly if you want to build the following, you need to have a good editor, and you need to pay good money for a good editor. Cheap is cheap is cheap. You want to pay cheap, you'll get cheap. And you may also get people writing reviews for you saying that your book needed better editing. So tip number 2, easy to understand. If given a chance that you could choose what level to write your book, write it at the lowest level. I found that Jesus himself, a great communicator and probably heralded to be the best teacher in the world, he told stories that were simple. Even a child can pretty well understand some of his parables, but they had depth. You can be profound but simple, and some of the most simple statements can be very profound. I have got a knack of getting complex subjects and making them very simple. The more complex you write, the less people will engage with your writing. So one comment that I get many, many times is that my books are so simple to understand. So many people have written reviews and made comments that it was like they were at a cafe and I was talking to them face to face. This happens because most of my books are dictated. This video series is going to become a book, and depending on how many videos I do will be the amount of chapters in that book. So it's a really good tip to make your book as simple as it can be. I found that people that go to university like to use big words, and these university people like to impress other people with big words. And yet you'll find if you read a daily paper, you'll find that they don't use that many big words, and they're simpler to read than some of the writings of university educated people. So that's a tip. You can take it or leave it. But I get so many people comment to me that my books are really easy to understand. They appreciate it. Tip number 3, be transparent. So what do I mean by that? Michael Van Vlymen, I mentioned him in another video, but Michael Van Vlymen said of me, what he really loves about me is I'm not afraid to throw myself under a bus in order to illustrate a point. And it's true. I will use whatever story I can use to demonstrate or illustrate the point I'm making. If you have a choice between someone else's testimony, someone else's story, or your own personal story, use your own. One of the talents, one of the aims I have when I write is that I try to educate a person on the subject and at the same time let them get to know me. So educate on your subject and let the people get a glimpse into who you are. And you can do that by illustrating your points and being very transparent. Should you say all of the story? Well, let's just say people know I had an addiction to prostitutes for many years, and yet I don't tell all the intimate details of that addiction. So you're quite able to share that you had an addiction. You don't have to say what actually happened scene by scene in the bedroom. So there's limits to how transparent you are. If I was writing a book on sex addictions and what really addicted me and what I like to do in the bedroom and what attracted me to a certain prostitute over another one, I might get more specific, but that book would be centered on that addiction and what used to really arouse me and make me compelled to rebook the same girl time and time again. So even in this second point where I'm saying the third point saying be transparent, I was being transparent to illustrate what I mean. And you may be upset if you're female now to find someone that had a sex addiction, but I can tell you what, it really refined my life. It really was a sad thing, but it actually made me into a better person struggling all those years. Tip number 4, use relevant stories and quote your source. So if you have the choice between your story, like I was sharing in the tip before, if you have a choice between your story to illustrate a point and someone else's story, use your story. So they get the subject taught and they get to know you. But when you only have someone else's story, quote the story and see if you can find the source for the story. My editor doesn't let me get away with much. She likes to know what book that was in, what article that was in, and she likes to quote that as a footnote in the book. So as you're teaching, try and quote sources and share sources that are relevant, that back up your point and illustrate your point, but try to quote sources where you can get a source. Try and make quotes where you can get a source. Use relevant quotes, and this also use relevant stories. This also applies to people quoting the Bible. There's nothing that frustrates me more than a person putting too many scripture references in a book. You don't have to, if you're a Christian, you don't have to quote Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse. I've got subjects on biblical subjects. I've got whole books on biblical subjects that have got maybe 5 verses in the whole book. Your experience, your knowledge is enough. It doesn't have to be backed up by the Bible. And when you quoting Bible after Bible after Bible, it gets so boring sometimes. I find myself in Christian books skipping over the verses because I already know the verse. And you'll find a lot of Christians do that. And so quote what's relevant. And this will build readership. Your readers will know that you're only quoting that because it's important that they know that quote. So, we're taught in English, make the point, illustrate the point, summarize the point, and make a conclusion to the point, then get to your next point. Tip number 5, engage with your readers. So if you can make a Facebook group for your readers, or you can make a Facebook author page for your readers, that's a good thing. In the end of my books, I encourage people to get in touch with me. I've got my Facebook page, not my author page, but my regular page. I've got a link there, so people know that they press that link and they can friend request me. I've got my website in my address. People can write me an email and contact me via that. I've got my phone number on my website. People can contact me via phone. That 2 of the readers who've read all my books, I talk to them regularly on the phone. One of them's my best friend, and I talk to her every single day. Nicola has co-written 3 books with me and is sort of traveling in my footsteps. The more you can engage with your readers, the better things are. And so as people read my books, they start to join Facebook and they get taught every day by the things I'm posting on my Facebook page. I'm not posting just about my books. I'm posting about my life, my Christian life, and they find out so much about me. And people who follow my Facebook page and read my books really come to understand me really well. So it's important not to have an agenda with the things that you do. It's important not to be going after sales. It's important not to be trying to convince everyone to follow you. It's important not to have any agenda. Just educate people, bless people, encourage people, build people up. Don't write a book for the purpose of making money. Don't write a book because it's a popular subject. Write a book that on a subject that you know very well, and do it to teach the people, to equip the people, to make people into a better person. Do I think this book will be popular? Well, I don't really know. All I know is this: I wish I could have access to a book like this when I first started. There's too much hype. So many people say Amazon bestseller. Well, 5 or 6 of my books have been bestsellers for a week or a month. It can be hard to get your book to be the bestseller in a category, but I have had that happen. I had a book, My Radical Encounters with Angels, that was the bestseller in there, and angelology and demonology section for about a month, and that month it sold 600 copies. So another one that is a bonus, and it's not in the heading 5 tips. This is the 6th tip. Praying Medic is an author, a successful Christian author that stopped his full-time job and lived on his income from his books. He ran a blog for 6 years and built up, I think, a following of 30,000 subscribers. He had those 30,000 subscribers to his blog before he wrote his first book. Many people read books on marketing and internet marketing and stuff, and they start giving away a little book or a free book to build the email list and start marketing to the email list. Well, Praying Medic had a following of 30,000 before he did his first book. So the more time that you can engage your audience on Facebook or social media, the more effort you put into that, the better stickability your audience will be. So I've got many people who read every book of mine, and that's I've got a friend in South Africa who Amazon actually blocked from doing reviews because they thought he was getting cheap products off me because he kept on writing reviews for all my books. So he got banned. But I've got another two friends that write reviews on nearly every one of my books. And there's also a button on Amazon where they can press follow. If you mention that in your book, at the end of your book, that your readers can press that follow, and Amazon will update them on every book that's released, and that will also help too. So I pray that this has been a help to you. If you like this video, press thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to my channel, subscribe and then press the bell. If you want to write a comment, write a comment. If you want to get in touch with me via my website, get in touch. If you want to be a friend on Facebook, do that. And may God bless you. I pray for your writing journey, and I hope that you really enjoyed this video. See you later.